So every single one of us here has probably had a seamless online checkout experience within the past decade or so. Well, we have checkout.com for that. And here to talk about the massive growth of the company and the digital economy in the MENA region is Guillaume Poussat, the CEO of checkout.com, one of the most important and earliest payments platforms to ever have existed. Guillaume, it's so wonderful for you to be here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So since March 2020, we've witnessed one of the largest, fastest changes in consumer behavior in history. And as customers rapidly shifted their daily purchases online and started taking part of the digital economy, businesses were forced to respond quickly to remain relevant. So Guillaume, your company was key in facilitating this massive transformation, but it doesn't look like you're done yet. You've just raised over $1 billion of funding to enable businesses to thrive in the digital economy. But what precisely does it mean for a business to thrive in this new frontier, and how can you help?
So I think I'll start by the word enable, which is probably even more important. We're here to help merchants. I think we've always been a payment partner. That's the way we see it. We think that merchants should build the value proposition to their customers and not build the payment infrastructures. So I think that's the key thing. Thriving in the digital economy is basically capturing where the world is going. One of the things we fundamentally believe here at Checkout, we believed this 10 years ago and we still believe it today, is that the world is changing. The world is changing because our kids, my 3 kids, are not interacting with the internet like my mother was, and so they're going to just buy more into a digital economy. But it's also changing because governments and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia under its leadership has the Vision 2030, and it creates a rate of change that is even faster than the world would go normally. And if we can help merchants and our customers capture this opportunity, then essentially, we're creating value for them, we're creating value for ourselves, we're creating value for our shareholders, and I think that's the business model.
Capturing the way the world is moving. I love that. So there's a saying that the pandemic forced companies to cram 10 years worth of innovation in just 1 or 2 years. So how different does the digital economy look today than at the start of the pandemic? And how is that different from where we were 10 years ago? And what the next 10 years hold?
So I'm not sure it's 10 years, probably 4 or 5 years would probably be more correct. But again, I think globally what we've seen is that working from home, being at home under various lockdowns forced people to consume online. So we've seen a huge acceleration. And one of the key things that we were really wondering is are things going to slow down? Are they going to go back to normal? And I think when you shift a behavior, when you shift a habit, could it be buying your groceries online or buying food online? There's no going back. I think my mother now buys her grocery online, and she's 76 and still has seen the benefit of it. So there's going to be no go back. Where the world is going, I think this is probably a more open question. Certainly we need to agree that it's going to be more online. One of the things we always say to our merchants is that we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know where the world is going per se, but by trusting us with their payments, they know they have a partner who will basically help the world transform and support it. Specifically in this country, we were the first MADA e-commerce transaction was processed on the checkout.com platform. When Apple Pay launched here, 8 of the 10 merchants were on the checkout.com platform. That would be Jarir, Hunger Station, Nana, Extra, Almost Affair. And the way I see things is that my role, the role of checkout.com, is to basically, as the world evolves, as there's new opportunities, underwrite those opportunities, create the payments that actually enable merchants to build their businesses, and I think that's why the merchants are choosing us. They're choosing that partner that helps them solve complex payment problems.
Absolutely, that is so well said. And for the first time, the MENA region and Pakistan eclipsed the European market when it comes to the adoption of emerging payment methods, according to your company's most recent research report. For those living outside of the region, can you provide some color and context for how important this region is to the global digital economy? And how is the future of digital finance unfolding differently here? And what does that mean for businesses everywhere?
So, one of the things we see here in the Middle East, and especially here in Saudi, is that the governments are very aligned to digitize the world and the interactions between government services and their population. This morning I was with the leadership of Taqamo, which actually is a very important organization here. They have 28 different services that they basically offer to the population and to the economy in general, and everything is digital. And so if you put a younger population, a government that has a true willingness to digitize the economy, you put very high mobile phone penetration, you have all the right ingredients to having a very thriving economy in terms of e-commerce. I think one of the other things that is very specific to this region and this part of the world is that cash is still very important. So you have the right population, and you have a population that is, again, not going to consume how their parents were necessarily consuming, and so it creates a huge swell of growth in terms of e-commerce adoption.
That is such an important point that all of us should take note of. And despite the market recent activity, the cryptocurrency market as a whole is now valued at about $1.6 trillion as of about a week or so ago. And it's becoming clear that whatever happens in the short term in the markets, crypto is going to be a fundamental part of the digital economy's future. What role will it play when it comes to creating new opportunities, new types of experiences, and new business models? And how will your company make these opportunities real for your customers?
So I've been quite outspoken about this. I'm a big believer, not necessarily in crypto, which is an umbrella term that means everything from NFTs to digital currencies. I like blockchain. I like the technology that underpins everything, because Checkout.com is a technology-first company. Nearly 2/3 of the company, of the 2,000 employees, are product and engineers. I'm a product person by formation, so that's what I really like doing. And so when you have a new technology for financial services and you're a fintech company, by definition, intellectual curiosity makes you want to study it. To answer your question, the world of crypto or digital currencies needs today regulation. I think this is commonly agreed. It is important. I think regulators all around the world are considering how they're going to tackle that. It's an extremely dynamic market that has, like you mentioned, locked $1.6 trillion of value in various currencies, some stable coins, CBDCs, the standard BTC or ETH. And the way I look at it is that if the technology is, if we look at the world how it is today in terms of fintech, you have all the neobanks, fintech companies that have basically done some of the banking services and have managed to garner millions of customers. Here, notoriously, we invested $110 million last year in Tomorrow, which is a fast-growing buy now, pay later. They have 1.1 million users here in Saudi, which they built in a year or so, 16 months, actually, to be precise. And then you have all this kind of blockchain, DeFi technology, which is a better way to do finance, but which is today unregulated. I think the moment the regulation will come in, when there will be a clear framework, what you will see is that you will see the fintech companies leveraging the technology and just combine them. I think that's where that would be. It is subjective, but that's how I see the world evolving. Is it going to be done over 3 years, 5 years, or other? I think it's another question. Now we at Checkout, again, you cannot be I'm going to joke about this, but you cannot be a fintech company and not having an interest in Web3. I'm fighting my own engineers that live in the fiat world that all want to go do Web3 and, projects for Checkout, being in, settlement in digital currencies, faster settlements, and there's the opportunity is immense. And again, I'm not saying that Visa, MasterCard are going to disappear, certainly not, the same way that cash is not going to disappear. But we have cash, we have cards, and now we have digital currencies. And these are like three worlds. And like you said, at 1.6 trillion today, and I think it's a safe assumption that in 10 years from now, it will be a lot more, you'll have a huge bucket of value that is there. And what's important is to create the bridges between the world. Like the same way that we are removing cash of this society, creating a bridge between Visa, MasterCard, and the traditional fiat schemes, and blockchain and Web3.
I couldn't agree with you more. You can't be a fintech company without wondering or being involved in Web3. So for those of us who don't work in the payments industry, or who may not be merchants, it's not immediately clear how complicated this space is. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that merchants face in this environment, especially in the MENA region where your company has been working for over a decade?
So we have more than 100 employees here, and we're going to hire another 100 because obviously we were saying it's 100 in the year that is coming, and more than half in Saudi. The reason there is so much complexity in payments is that every single country has different payment methods on what we call pay-in, the ability to capture revenue, and different payment methods on the payout. Being Saudi specific, here we have MADA. On payouts we have STC Pay, we have Saria, and if I'm a merchant here in Saudi, I could connect some of them directly or through my bank. But if I'm a global merchant and we process for like Facebook, TikTok, Netflix, Klarna, Samsung, Adidas, Sony, I mean the really big ones, they don't want to go country by country. So they need somebody who is going to basically offer all the pay-in methods, all the payout methods, single API, single reporting, abstracting all this like country-specific complexity. And then on top of that, you add the regulations, which we see in different countries evolve at different pace. But we think in Europe we have strong customer authentication, so there is a lot of different rules that you need to follow in order to process the payments. And again, if I circle back to what I said in the first part of the conversation, is that merchants want to build a business. Hunger Station CEO with who I was having dinner last night, he wants to sell more food. He wants to connect his buyers, his customers, with the drivers, with the restaurants. He wants to do this in a more efficient way. He doesn't want to go and optimize basis points against MADA or things like this. And so that's why the word enable is so important for us, is that we're a payment partner. We listen to our merchants. We try to solve their problems. And we do that at scale all around the world. And it's not necessarily obvious that it's complex, but I was mentioning we hire 100 people here this year and 1,000 plus more in 2022.
That is so completely well said. It is all about listening to your merchants. And what are some of the trends you're watching now in the MENA region? And how do you think businesses in the region will evolve with the digital economy in the years ahead?
So I think it's the key topic here that everyone is talking about, that a lot of people have asked me in the last 24 hours, obviously buy now, pay later. I think it got to a point where, when we surveyed people, more than 3/4 of the people that we surveyed would say that they'd be completely comfortable using a buy now, pay later like Tamaha to process their transactions online. So basically split the payments in installments. It's one of the fastest growing segments of fintech globally. And so there is obviously a lot to do there, because you are creating, a relationship with the consumer. It's a consumer-facing product, and checkout.com, historically, we are a true B2B product. Merchants don't see us. We've touched, I would say, probably everyone in the room here processing their credit card, but we never appear in front of the merchant. Tamaha is appearing in front of the merchant. They have the relationship to the customer. And as such, what they can do is they can expand their services and start doing more than just buy now, pay later. And one of the things that is going to be very interesting, I think, to watch is the rise of those buy now, pay laters, and how they can start offering more products and more services to their consumers. This is something, it's a super fast growing industry. And, again, specifically here in the Middle East and in Saudi, it's growing at an incredible pace.
Absolutely. And I want to shift gears here for just a second. And as a CEO of a company that's squarely focused on sustainability and social impact, I was really struck by how important it was for you to leave a positive legacy for you and your business. And there are many out there who say that companies should just make money and leave the rest to everyone else. But we know that businesses are stronger when it comes to a positive purpose. So years from now, when the world looks back on what you and your business has accomplished, what impact do you want to be most remembered for? And what is the change you're seeking to make?
So we started this company nearly 10 years ago, and I'm lucky because I'm a young CEO. I'm 40 years old. I have 3 children, and so I have a horizon of probably 20, 30 years. My wife would say more. She says I'll work till the end, but I really operate on a very long horizon. And we always say at Checkout, I think it's one of the operating principles, that we want to find the intersection of doing good and doing well, which means that not every dollar is worth making. I think you want to have a positive impact in society. You want to try to drive change. You have a responsibility as a tech company to do that. I think it's very important. People focus on the valuations and the numbers, the headline numbers, but I like to think about what we are doing. We're creating jobs in many markets, in a lot of emerging markets. We're enabling merchants to create those jobs also, because if Hunger Stations or Jarir or Jahez is actually increasing in scales they employ, so we have that impact. And then maybe a bit more tactically, We were very proud because this year we removed 6,500 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. So we wanted to be, completely carbon neutral, which was something that was important. And we see a lot of companies who make the promises of doing it in the future. We basically bought every single carbon offset that we could find because we had 10 years to offset at one go. So it was something that, that was a priority. Specifically in Saudi, I'm very proud of Reem, my country manager. Incredible woman. She's leading change. We've mentored this year, that was part of an initiative, more than 7,000 students in 2021.
Wow.
Here in Saudi. We have a goal to do 20,000 this year. Entrepreneurship has the power to change the world. And more than ever, especially with the Saudization and here for us specifically, our hiring needs, we need to get students to want to go into engineering and product career paths so we can essentially hire them and try to create specific technology here and help the local companies.
Wow. So checkout.com, dominating the market and doing well by doing good. Well, it has been such a wonderful conversation with you, Guillaume. Thank you so much for joining, and everyone give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Shukran.